Hello and welcome to another edition of Extra Connections. I am your host, James Lott Jr. here on JLJ Media. And I get to talk to some people who are doing some amazing things. That's why I'm always here, try to connect you with people, places, things, and ideas. And this is actually all those things wrapped into one, into this amazing new book that is out now, which you can get it on scvisuals.com or Blur Brooks. It's called I Can't Breathe. Now, you know the phrase, you know what's going on there. But there's some beautiful photography that's in this book that's talking about the struggles you've gone through all the way back from Trayvon Martin to Breonna Taylor. So I'm going to talk to the two creators and people who did this book. I'm so excited to have them on the show. And make sure I have both their names correctly, Lewis Carr and Sterling Scott.
Yep. How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Right.
It's my pleasure. I always am here from my Black people. I'm always here. We're going to work it out. Congratulations on the book. I mean, first of all, congratulations. I mean, it probably wasn't easy to do because of the subject matter. Can you talk about actually the reason for this book and the subject matter? Whichever one wants to go first.
Well, it's our second book, and we were hanging out one day, and a friend asked what was the follow-up book, and we were like, we don't know. We haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
And then I, being the activist, am always out shooting, always out covering things. Sterling jumped in and started covering things. And one day we finished and I was like, dude, we have our second book. And he was like, what? And I was just like, let's make a book about Black protests. Let's make a book about what this movement is about. We have the images. And then I had already been following Black Lives Matter and following protests since Trayvon Martin. So I was just like, we have like over 7 years of content plus what we've been doing together. For me, it was easy because I'm an activist, so I'm always out there. I think it was a little bit difficult for Sterling because he had to jump in the pool of activism and police conduct and all that. So I'll let him talk.
Sterling, Sterling, please talk about that. I mean, what's it like to, I haven't protested in 30 years. I couldn't go out there with that. I have like COVID. So I have an immune system thing. But 30 years ago, I was protesting back in the 80s and 90s. What was it like for you to jump into that world of uncertainty when you do protesting?
Right, definitely a world of uncertainty. I'm a timid guy. I'm pretty shy, and I kind of like to sit back, like on the sidelines, and I'm like, okay, it's nice. Like, you guys do what you do over there. I'll support and wave my flag and wave my banner. But I think with COVID, everybody had to sit at home, and we all had to watch all of these injustices that are happening to Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. I mean, the list continues, and it's still continuing. And it was just one of those things where I had to sit back and say, I could sit at home and do nothing, and I could be on my phone and be on Instagram, but I knew that I had the opportunity to make a difference and make a change with my camera. And it just took some time to get my feet wet and to figure out how comfortable I could become being out there. And granted, did I still work within my capacity? Of course, because it is all new to me, and I do want to make sure that I'm safe and watching out for the people that are around you, because a lot of stuff is going on. But really, I mean, it just hit home. It's like, this was my opportunity. And I think I'm a millennial generation. So for us millennials, we've never had to encounter something where we're fighting against like a big injustice. When Trayvon Martin passed, I was graduating high school. That was 2013. So it was, I'm not trying to age anybody, but like, I'm 25 now. So back then, it was still a big deal. It's like, wow, how could this kid get murdered just like that? He's the same age as me. I'm going off to college, and we had Mike Brown. So we've had these instances where they're jumping up. But I think the whole world really erupted because we're all sitting at home. So everybody had to hop on board, and I was like, I want to be on that train too. You know what I mean? I want to make a difference and give back and produce something that's worthwhile. That's also gonna like stand the test of time in history. So. That's kind of my take.
First of all, you have a great smile. You have like $1 million smile. Let's tell you that. So what is one thing you learned about yourself though during being out there, out and about? What is one thing that kind of maybe surprised you learned about yourself?
Ooh, there's a lot.
Well, good. Very congratulations.
Yeah, can I say one thing or multiple things? Or is it...
Wherever you want, say multiple. I want to learn everything. Everything you learn, tell me all about it. We got plenty of time.
I think the biggest thing, well, I'll say the biggest thing, just to culminate all of it, never hide yourself, and always be proud of your Blackness. You know, for too long, right?
Oh yes, no, we have to say that. We have to.
Right. I don't want to say that I was never proud to be Black, but my space was always safe. You know, I'm friends with everybody. I usually keep it kosher. I don't like to get into arguments. I like to just be, I'm cool. We're cool. I like to keep the peace. But this is not a time to keep the peace. And what I mean by that, you have to speak up. Even when it feels tough, even when you feel like people are going to throw shade on you or judge you or look at you differently, you have to step into that light, because if you don't, then people aren't going to know where you stand. And so that's the biggest thing, is really just taking a firm stand and saying like, hey, this isn't right. This is what I'm standing up for. Either you agree with me or you don't, but this is what I believe in. And this is who I am. So you need to accept that or don't. These are my people, and we got to rock with our people.
Like I said, I came to, I've seen you guys before the show. I came to this business later in life, as they call it. And I decided that when I came in, that I'm not going to apologize for supporting Black talent first. So almost what you were saying, Sterling, I made a conscious choice. I interview everybody. I love all my peeps. I interview everybody. But when Black talent would come to me and say, we're not getting coverage on this show or that show, I put them ahead and say, come on my show, let's talk about it. Let me pass you on to so-and-so. Like, I use my connection. Not saying I wouldn't help anybody. Again, not saying I wouldn't help anybody else, but I'm not apologizing anymore for being Black.
Right.
And supporting Black folks. And I'll speak to my other man over there, who probably is a little older, I'm sure, who knows about that, where we have to kind of say to ourselves and to our people, do not apologize for your Blackness, to actually celebrate that is okay to be okay, to like your Blackness. It's okay to live in it. So I'm glad you said that. I think it's a very important thing. Right, Lewis? I think you agree with that.
It's very important. One thing that I'm really, really proud about Sterling is his first march was the big Black Lives Matter march that started at Pan Pacific Park. And he came with some of his friends for college. And I was just like, yeah, you don't need to hang out with me. Go hang out with your friends. And I was like, hey, follow the leaders. Pay attention to what you're doing. I didn't say write the medic's number, write an attorney's number or an emergency contact on your arm. But I was just like, he'll be fine. If he needs me, he'll call me. And we get to 3rd and Fairfax.
Yes.
And we're stuck. And I'm just like, I see the helicopters and I'm with my group and I'm looking around. I was like, have you guys seen Sterling? And they're just like, no. Bumping some other friends. Have you seen Sterling? No. So I text him, hey, where you at? Is everything okay? We're trapped by police. And he's like, I'm in Beverly Hills. I was like, what?
Hey.
Beverly Hills. Right. I was like, anyway, I gotta go. At that point, I had a cloth mask on, but as soon as we started hearing the gunfire, I put on my big industrial mask, changed my lens, and started going up further to the front. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. And if he wasn't, I need to get him to a place where he was safe. I went up right to where the police were, and I watched them billy club a Black woman. I watched them provoke crowds. I watched people give bricks to people and say, throw this, your anger is justified, and then stand back with the camera and take a picture of it. So it was shutting stuff like that down. It was also making sure Blacks, okay, yeah, it's fine to be angry, but remember they have bullets. We have nothing. Don't get in their faces. I understand that you're angry, but don't provoke them into doing what they came here to do, which was attack us. For me, that day was tough. Just seeing how they could just attack people and shoot rubber bullets at people, and then hearing reports from CNN saying, oh, they're shooting them at the ground. Well, what happens when rubber bounces off something? It ricochets. So there's one video where you see the bullet coming right at my camera. For me, that day was, wow. I already knew you guys hated us, but do you really hate us this much? And I think that was it. That was even, we had just said we were going to shoot the book, but we had no idea. I think Sterling really had no idea what he was getting himself into. And then the next one was at the mayor's mansion. And all I could do was tell him and call him, hey, I got this on. And he's like, are you okay? And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. He's like, hey, why don't I come and wait for you? And I thought he was going to wait for me and wait till I came out. He actually came in. And that's when I really watched his activism, because he always tells me, I'm not an activist. I'm not like you. And I always say, yeah, you just haven't been activated. Frontline activists, you just have not been activated. So I've watched this young man step into his talent and step into his storytelling. And it's like you said earlier, I am unapologetically Black. I was raised to be unapologetically Black. Back in the day, James Brown, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. I think we need to go back to that and go back to an understanding that we are an amazing people. We are a very giving and kind and forgiving people, but we're not your doormat. We're no longer here for your nonsense. We don't want to cause any harm, but we don't want harm done to us either.
So Lewis, let me ask you a question, because I was asked this myself, a little older. How do you not get fatigued? Because someone said to me, so I couldn't go out there because of my immune system. So I had a lot of people, activists, come on my shows during that time period. I spoke out at a lot of webinars and Facebook Lives. I did my own talks on what's happened to me, as a Black man on this earth. So that was my activism, was mostly online. But people have asked me, so James, I mean, like I'm saying, some of the same things are happening that happened 30 years ago and 40 years ago and 20 years ago, that it never really stopped. I tell all the time, it never really stopped. It's just now we have camera phones. It was always there. But that's the question I'm going to pose today. I'll pose it to you. How do you not get fatigued from the activism?
I grew up with some amazing parents and grandparents and great-grandparents who shared stories. And always reminded us how important it is to always stay active, no matter how tired we get. And it's interesting that you asked that question, because I'm all about whether I'm doing an outreach down on Skid Row or an outreach through my organization or activism. I always try to take time out for myself to just clear my space and reset and recenter. And when we started this, I wasn't doing that. I was just going from protest to protest to protest to protest to protest. And I think it was after the big Hollywood protest, and then the following weekend was Juneteenth, and I really wanted to do it. And my body was just like, no, you can't do it. I have sickle cell, and I wasn't staying hydrated. So from March and I was like sick, diagnosed with acute chest syndrome, was in the hospital 2 days. So this whole thing has taught me, you've got to make sure, if you're going to keep doing this, and now moving into 52, if I'm going to
same age.
See, we can tell.
Black don't crack, folks. It just grays. That's all it does. Black don't crack. We're both look at that. No wrinkles on there. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
If I'm going to keep doing the work that I'm doing, that I've always done, I gotta find more effective ways to take care of this vessel. Otherwise, this vessel will say, you know what, it's time for you to get out of here.
That's very true. I got Bell's palsy. It was a rare case a couple of years ago, and I was paralyzed on the left side for almost a year. That was my body saying, James, you're doing way too much. You're way too extra. So now I meditate every morning for an hour, every single morning before I do anything. So now I've learned, so like I say, you got to find ways to kind of like balance it out somehow. So you can keep, because you're no good to anybody if you're no good to yourself.
Right. And it's funny because I'm good at telling other people.
Of course.
Some personal time. I tell them all the time, make sure you're taking time out for yourself.
Of course.
gotta get up and go. We gotta get up and go. And for me, the hardest thing about now is I'm getting back into the rhythm of things, but my body is still like, you were sick for what? Close to 12 weeks, if not.
Wow.
We're not ready to get back out there full steam yet. But I'm like, yes, you are. Let's go. Let's go.
I got things to do.
We got other projects to work.
Exactly. Hey, so Sterling, guys, how do you guys meet?
I was shooting a campaign for the city of Los Angeles. He was one of the guys that was part of the campaign. When he walked into the room, immediately my spirit was just like, there's something special about this guy. There's something that you need to help this guy fulfill. Sterling just lit up the room. You commented on his smile.
The smile was amazing.
Like, right? It is.
Good night, everybody.
Sometimes when we're out shooting, I'm like, smile. And he's like, I'm smiling. And I was like, your real smile. Give me your real smile. He asked me to shoot him for modeling. I think at first I said no. I think I said no. I don't have time for that. And then we started hanging out and shooting. And then we became friends. We started talking about things. We started hanging out. And that's the cool thing about this book and our first book is it's shot from two very different perspectives. Even though we might be looking at the same subject matter, there was once when we were downtown at the Jackie Lacey Must Go protest, and one of the mothers had a heart, and it's actually in the book, and it was the ashes of her son, and she has it, and I'm like, what is that she has? And then she took it and did like this, and I don't think any photographer that was sitting near us didn't lower their head. I had tears falling, and then as soon as my head came up, I looked at it, I was like, did you get a shot? I think I got a shot. Did you get the shot? But stuff like that, our perspectives, mine comes from a veteran that's been doing this forever, and his is coming from somebody who is just getting into this, somebody who is proud of his Blackness, but is just realizing that it's important for him to stand up and be prouder to be Black, even when prouder means certain people aren't going to accept what you're doing.
So what is it about Lewis over here? What is it about your friendship? What is it about there? For you? Come on, I'm gonna embarrass everybody.
Right. Nah, the biggest thing about Lewis is that he always keeps it real and is gonna just tell you like it is.
I love it.
And sometimes it's not easy accepting some of the things that he has to say, but I do know I have to listen and I have to hear him because that's the way that you move forward, right? He has like this experience. He's very proud of who he is. And he's steadfast and strong. Like he's gung-ho and he believes in what he's doing. And you want to surround yourself around people that are like that, excuse me, because they hold you accountable. Then they hold you to a higher standard, you know? And as his friend, I mean, he's an amazing guy. He does all these like great things and he's out there and he's helping people, you know? And the biggest thing for me is like, I'm trying to reach that bar. I'm trying to like climb to that ladder.
Look at there.
Status, right? And I know I'm not going to be there overnight, but definitely with the work that we do and the work that I do, I'm always like thinking about certain things in my head. Like, is it worth it? You know, how does this honor yourself? How does this honor your family? How does this honor your ancestors? How does this honor your Blackness? How does this honor who you are? You know, is it going against who you are? Are you being authentically you? So certain things like that are very powerful and very meaningful. And, you know, you don't often get that out of everyday friendships. You know, it's one of a kind people that are like that. So that's why, you know, I stick with this guy and we laugh, joke.
Lewis, you have something too. No, I'm not trying to discount you. You have something too. You do. I can tell just from talking to you, I can tell. And like I said, we're at the same age. I can tell you have something too.
It's funny because everybody thinks I'm serious and I'm just like, you don't hang out with me. You've
been laughing. So I've been talking to you. You've been laughing at my stuff, so I can tell you have fun. Right. But you know, but one of those things where you come across because you're a leader. You're a leader, whether you think so you are or not. You're a leader. I can tell already. So people look to you for a certain type of probably thing. So when you laugh and joke around, I'm probably thinking, well, I'm not used to this. He's an activist. He's this. He's that. It's like, no, we can laugh and be silly just like anything else.
Right.
We also, but because we know how serious life really can be. So we have to laugh sometimes.
To go to that laughter side all the time.
Yes. Because I know how fucked up life can be. Trust me, I know. But I like to laugh and act crazy and talk and give shade. I always say it's always cooler in the shade. I give shade all the time, fun shade to my friends. That's what you do to offset. That's what our ancestors did to offset time, playing the dozen.
Right, exactly.
To offset their reality, which was not the greatest at some time. So I'm glad you were saying that. I always say that my ancestors are on my shoulders, and it's not heavy. They're just there, and so everything that I choose to do, no matter what it is, I kind of think of them. I use them as momentum. I use them as wings. I use them as all kinds of stuff. So when you said that, I kind of agree with that also. But on there. So Sterling, I'm gonna ask you first.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know you have a good shot? Because Lewis just talked about that, where you're in a moment where it's probably very emotional, and you're like, how do you? Because I've cried on TV. I've had shows with guests made me cry, and I cried. I didn't care. I cried, but I still pulled back together to be to host the show. But you're actually taking pictures or video, doing shots. How do you know you have a good shot?
That's the funny thing. Sometimes you don't. You don't know if you have a good shot until you get it up on the computer when you're editing. I think the biggest thing is always we talked about centering ourselves and being in a space. Even in that quick moment when the mother had the ashes, I know I was bawling and I dropped my head. Like, I think he looked up at me, and then other photographers were like, "Man, are you okay?" Like, no, dog, I'm good, bro. I'm good. So, there are those moments when things really, really get tough, and it's kind of like you don't know if you have the good shot until afterwards. Granted, I do have a good shot. just throwing it out there, but you do have to just take those moments where it's like, okay, this is a job. This is something that I need. This is something that needs to be seen. And I kind of have that in my head on top of letting, my body, letting my spirit, my feelings, my emotions, also taking that time to have that moment as well. So it's kind of like the duality, you have to go in and then come out,
So Lewis, is it more like you have to kind of trust the spirits, trust your luck, that you maybe out of the 20 shots you took of that one little thing, one is good? Is that kind of how it goes? I mean, how's it go? Like, because I don't know about photography. I don't know what that is. So tell me.
For me, because I've been doing it for so long, I started with my grandfather as a kid. Wow. And he always said, trust your gut. If your gut feels it's right, shoot. And shoot what you want to tell the story about. So I always approach whether I'm out doing street photography or a celebrity red carpet. I try to always shoot what my heart and my gut is telling me. With things like this, I want to be able to get a good shot, but I also don't want to be exploiting the situation.
Exactly.
I remember I was working for a huge Fortune 500 company, and the women were talking about being raped, and they were sharing their story on stage, and I did get some shots, but at one point it became like voyeurism, and so I lowered my camera, and the PR person tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You need to get these shots." And I turned around and I told her, I said, "You need to be quiet. I am not taking any more shots." So there are times when I'm out at protests, I have to yield to what the activist in me is saying, not the photographer. And I have to yield to what my ancestors are telling me. This is sacred. Do not take this shot. And I see other photographers taking the shot because their thing possibly could be, I need to sell this. Somebody needs to buy this. Right. And my thing is this shot good storytelling, or is this shot just good money making. And for me, I would rather tell a great story than make a dollar, especially off the backs of my people or someone else's hurt and harm. And that's why for us, when we're out at any protests, our goal is to tell a story first from a Black perspective. And that requires us to be present and realize this, we can't photograph this. This we can't do. Even with in pulling pictures for the book, we were just like, I don't know, it's a great shot, but we're using this shot. We're not even going to post this shot to our social media. Maybe we can find the person and give it to them, but we're not going to post it on our social media. We're not going to do this. For us, it's about, and for me as a photographer, it's about storytelling. And sometimes a story with a fist landing on the face is not good storytelling. Right. You could find another image that can tell the story, and do it well. That, like when I was up at the police line, there are so many images, and some of them were very like, they people would be like, yeah, look at that police officer doing that. And I was like, okay, that's not the point of my story. My point of the story is this. So I'm going to pull this image out of it. So for me, it's just been getting clear as to what story I want to tell and how I want to tell it. And then letting everybody else get to view it. For the longest time, my tag was my life through my lens. And people really resonated with that, so much so that so many people are using that tagline now. I stopped using it. So now I use documenting Black life. And whenever I'm documenting Black life, I want to be respectful of the person who's on the other side of the lens. If it's a homeless person, I may not want to show their face, because what's going to happen when that homeless person starts to look for a job and maybe that image is picked up by Getty and that image becomes the face of homelessness, that could prevent that person from getting a job. I'm careful with images when people are out protesting and they're standing up on police cars. I'll black faces out because I don't want my image to identify somebody that the police can go and arrest. So I'm constantly saying that to photographers. If you're going to photograph this, you need to black out my brother's face. You need to black out my sister's face. I don't care that you black out that white lady's face. Actually, don't black it out.
Shady, shady.
Show their face. Show her writing BLM on that building and then walking away. Show her breaking that window. I want her identified, but I don't want to identify, because at the end of the day, I forget the activist's name. She says they don't go to your neighborhoods and terrorize you. They come to our neighborhoods and terrorize us. They're not terrorizing white photographers. They're terrorizing Black and brown photographers who are simply trying to tell honest stories. So for me, as a photographer, and I learned this from my grandfather, is be honest, tell honest stories, and take honest pictures. And then my idols are Black photographers. I don't have any white photographers that I gravitate towards. And there are some amazing white photographers, but there are far more many Black photographers that I can resonate with and understand their points of view and their struggles, because their struggles are my struggles.
Yeah, my grandmother used to always say, not all money is good money. I learned that a long time ago. I've turned down many things because of money. And they probably would have gotten me other directions, but it would compromise who I am. So I'm not gonna, that's not worth it in the end. It really is not worth it in the end. So
it really isn't, because sooner or later you're gonna have to answer a question. Well, why did you do this? And how come you did it this way here, did it this way here? I'm always going to be, and this is something I'll always say to Sterling and other people that I mentor, you can't straddle the fence. You have to be left or right. It's never down the middle. People say, oh, but things aren't that gray. Things aren't black and white. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Well, my thing is, whatever you do, you should be able to stand by it.
Right.
And even if it's a mistake, stand by it. I mean,
stand by it.
Just stand by it. Like you can say, well, yeah, I did that. And at the time, I thought it was the greatest thing on earth. And that's why I did. Like, at least own it, stand by it. And
stand by it.
When you make choices, keep that in mind. if I do this, can I live with this? Like literally live with it for the rest of my life. I know when you're young, you always think about stuff like that. Luckily, when we were young, there was no social media. It's a lot of things that I did will not be seen out there in the day of light.
Ever.
Never. I mean, never. There's a few Polaroids out there, but that's it. Other than that, there's nothing else you can find. There's no social media, nothing. So, you know. But even then, I was also one of those kind of people who was very mature for my age. I was always kind of trying to I always wanted to make a life for myself. I came from nothing. I wanted to make a life for myself. So I didn't do anything that crazy, but I did a few things that probably shouldn't have did. But you know, but even with those, if they ever came, I can still stand. I can stand by them and say, well, yeah, I was 20 years old and I did that. You know, I mean, I understand. But I also understand. I said this on another show. I don't know how you guys feel about this. Black folks look the same allowances as our white counterparts, especially in arts and culture. We're not allowed to do certain things. We can't get away with certain things as easy as others can. So again, my choices are the same thing. I know I can't get away with certain things that a white host can or a white producer can. And not saying they can't get taken down either. They can, but it's still even less for us.
Right.
Be careful with that. Why do you guys think you guys work well together? Because the photography thing is a solo thing. You're out there doing your thing, but when you come together with these books, why do you think it works?
We don't have egos.
Yeah. We're not trying to one up each other.
We're not in competition with each other. And we respect our friendship. I think that's why we work really, really well with each other. And we're not afraid to have tough conversations with each other. We're not afraid to say to each other, you know what, this is why I don't like this picture. And this is why I don't like the concept of this picture or the concept of this thought process. And we don't take it personal. It's weird because our photography started with him in front of the camera.
Right.
And it's still a huge body of work. Our first book, Reflection of Us, is him in front of the camera. And the whole time we were just like, how are we telling this story? Because people are going to say this is just a book about him. And so many people got the book and understood this is a story about Black men and what they go through. He just happened to be the model that was the character all the way through. So we discuss everything when it comes to shooting. And we don't have a problem. We don't go, okay, there's 50 items in this book. I need 25 and you need 25.
Okay.
Just like, pick the best image. This image is the best image. Let's just go with it.
It's like, does it flow? Does it work? Does it tell a story? Did we accomplish what we set out to do? And that's, you know, if it hits all those checks, then we did our job. You know, I think the biggest thing about this book, we didn't want to portray the same things that are going on in the news. You know, the same things. It's all riveting and, oh, fires are breaking out and people are breaking windows. It's like, how do we tell a story about our experience as Black men, our experience as Black people, and the experience that's actually happening on the streets, not the stuff that people are trying to feed us to make us feel a certain type of way, you know? So yeah, it's just...
Show the book again.
At a protest and we had stopped.
Okay.
And I just kind of like looked at, it was the Hollywood protest. I look at the people who were with, I was like, why are we stopping? And they were just like, oh, but they're praying right here. I was like, we don't do the Asada prayer in the middle of a protest. That's not what we do. That's not our leader. Keep moving, keep going. And they kind of looked at me and was like, you know what, you're right. We need to keep moving. So for us, it's checks and balances. And then within the book, another thing that we wanted to do within this book was we wanted to center Black women. Without Black women, there is no creation.
Hello.
None whatsoever.
Right.
And when I think of Black women, they are the backbone of our existence. So within the book, we hold these images. We had so many images of Black women, and we sat and we were like, yeah, our mothers would not be happy with this image. Our sisters, with our ancestors, so we're not using this image. So we were very meticulous about choosing images that honor Black women. That's Black women.
So glad, because A lot of black men don't honor their black women. We don't.
Right.
We need to honor them more. We really do. And I like your description. It's like, think of them as your mothers, as your sisters, your aunties, your grandma. Like, I don't understand. We need to do. I mean, they get a lot. I mean, it's very different. Black men, black, we each get our separate things, but black women get their stuff, and we need to support because they hold it down for us all the time. More often than not, a black woman will hold it down for a black man before a black man will hold it down for a black woman. And I'm like, we need to change that. We need to change that. We need to let them know that we are there for them. We back them up. You know, all those terms.
And we also wanted to honor the movement itself. We didn't want to speak for the movement or shape the movement, but we wanted to honor it. And we did that as Black men. How do we honor Doc Melly? How do we honor all the people who are on the front lines all the time? We did not want the book to look like, oh, we're just showing up, collecting photos that we can do something with later. We wanted to make sure that our book is reflective of Blackness in every single way. Black protest, Black joy, Black pride, because there's even some, I wasn't able to go to Juneteenth. I was home at best.
Yes, you were a little tired.
So there's within this book that's very, very serious, there's laughter, there's smiles, because that's what we do. We get serious, we laugh, and then we laugh, and we throw a barbecue, and we get together and play spades and dominoes, and then the next morning we're like, okay, we got to move this person out of office, and this is how we go about doing it. We got to make sure this initiative gets passed, and this is how we go about doing it.
Show the book again. Put the book in the frame for me. See if I see the book again. There we go. It's the book. Okay. So I'm going to ask you each a question. I can talk to you guys forever. I mean, it's like just forever. We want forever. They want me to do that. They don't want that. But I would. So this is a question for each of you. And it's very interesting because you're both at different generations. So we're very interested to hear each of your answers. I have been asking this to a lot of Black men on my shows. What does being a Black man actually mean to you these days? Not what it meant to you before, or not what it meant to you in the past. These days, today in society, what does being a Black man mean to you? And I will start with my fellow peer over here first. See what he thinks, Mr. Lewis. Tell me what do you think?
It means being brave. It means being strong. It means standing up when no one stands with you. It means protecting Black women. It means honoring my culture. It means honoring and loving myself first. It means loving every inch of this Black skin without apology, without exception. It means being planted, so planted that I cannot be uprooted. It means speaking truth to power, even when I know power can crush me. It means not being afraid of consequences. It means not being stingy with my gifts and talents. It means that it's important for me to realize I'm not going to be here forever. And it's important for me to share my photography skills and talents with other Blacks so that they have the tools to tell their own stories in their own words, in their own voices, through their own lenses, without any interference from anyone else other than themselves.
Like that.
It means being responsible. That's what Blackness today means to me. But it's always meant that to me.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You're not today. You answered the question nicely. And Sterling, like very good. No, just kidding. But I know how you follow that. But I do want to know your perspective because you are younger than we are, and I'm curious to what your perspective of what a Black man means today.
To be quite honest, it's the same things that he's saying, but from my perspective and my age, I think I'm learning all of that. And so the biggest thing is really like, how do I find the courage and the strength to speak about what I believe in and who I am without feeling that I'm going to be judged or lowering my standards or lowering myself to make someone else happy, or to feel like I'm accepted. I think that's the biggest thing with social media and all this other technology that we have for my generation. It becomes daunting. You know what I mean? Because everybody wants to be, you want to be happy, but like he said, he's like, you don't want to be happy, you want to be joyous, because you can't take away joy, but happiness can go away. So yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I'm learning and experiencing all that he has said, and he's absolutely correct. All of those things is what it means to be a Black man. We just have to find and figure that out in our own ways.
Yeah, I like that. Stay open. Always stay open. The education never ends.
Right.
I learn every day.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. I mean, literally, it doesn't. I tell you all the time. When you say you're done learning, you know everything, there's something wrong.
You're gonna die.
Right.
I mean, seriously, I agree with that. I'm like, I learn all the time. I don't know everything. I got a doctorate and everything. I still don't know everything. There's things I'm still learning all the time. It doesn't matter. It's like, I think that's the exciting part about life also, that there's still, you wake up the next day and there's something else new. I mean, it's always a possibility of new, and possibility of hope. So is there one picture in the book that's kind of like a centerpiece or something? Is there like one picture you're like, this is the picture?
Right.
Oh, you went, okay. I like that.
And for me, it's both the images. Being Black is not a crime, but then looking at this, what could possibly be two sisters or a mother and a daughter,
Right,
or cousins, and realizing they're not criminals.
Wow. I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I think for both of us, they're also personal to us.
Yeah.
And whether they're his pictures or my pictures, they both have such meaning and value to us, because Blackness has so much meaning and value to us. But those pictures really stand out for the both of us. Being Black is not a crime. And that's what we want people to understand. That's what this movement is about and continues to be about. That's what the civil rights movement was about. That's what any uprising from Blacks is about. We're not criminals. And us demanding rights does not make us criminals. It makes us human, just like you demanding your rights. So that, for me, that's what stands out. Is there one that stands out for you? We want to just keep showing this.
Keep showing it. That's right. I love it.
We want to just keep showing this book. Right.
That's right. And if you're listening to this podcast, come to the YouTube channel and look at the book. I always say, when people say to me, I don't think of you as Black, I say, why not?
Right. Or I don't see color, then you don't see me.
You don't see me. I say it all the time. Doesn't matter. Yes, I'm half Puerto Rican. I speak Spanish. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying it doesn't. All this stuff doesn't matter. It's like what you see is what's in front of you. It means that you're thinking that being Black is wrong, being Black is bad, being Black is a criminal. And if you think that I'm different from that, then there's something wrong with your thinking. So I just.
Isn't it funny how people say, "But you're so articulate, and you're not like other Black people." What exactly does that mean? That you're not going to whip me if you're given the chance to put me back in jail?
Right. It's like my thing was always like, so you come from the hood, like you do? I mean, like I go, yes, I did. I wasn't born rich. I didn't come from the valley. I didn't know. I mean, I came from Inglewood. I came from South LA. My family was in Compton. My father's from Nickerson Gardens and I mean, I came from the hood, folks. But you don't seem like you were a gangbanger or anything. I'm like, not all of us were gangbangers. Yeah, I knew them all, but not all of us were gangbangers. Like, hello, I'm just like,
I'm like, well, I don't.
The things they think of, it just amazes me all the time when I hear it.
Right.
All the time.
Okay. So
Just tell me.
Okay, so this is there it is.
Oh wow.
So little backstory behind it. In the background, this is in Lamert, so it says United.
Oh, yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, right by Hot and Cool. So I believe that they've been trying to get rid of that mural for a while. They want to take it away and replace it with something else. But when I went over here, it was, I don't know what the term is, but she's basically a Black teacher, violinist, and she got a group of her students to come out and to do a vigil for Elijah McClain. So that's why everybody is like wearing the violins. And so I really like that, because as a creative and like an artist myself, it's meaningful that we use our art to talk about certain issues that are going on. So yeah, having a United We Stand, them playing this beautiful music, and to see Black people doing it in the name of a Black man that was wrongfully murdered by police, it's just a powerful statement. So yeah, that's my favorite, or one of my favorites.
Tears in my eyes. Cheese and crackers. I love it. I love it. That's great. That's really great. So you said, as we wrap things up, there actually is an exhibit of some unused photos from the book. Tell people about that. So where can they find that? What's going on there?
So it's at the Gay and Lesbian Center South. What's the address? 20.
I'll look it up. I'll put it in the description.
Okay. Yeah.
I gotta find it too. I'm like, where is this thing? I didn't know it's either. So yeah, I'll find it too. So I'll put it in the description.
It is a collection of photos that did not make the book, that we wanted to share with people. And again, these are super, super powerful images, and it still doesn't touch the iceberg of images we collected and are still collecting in the work. But it is a cool way to see Blackness on full display without apology. You do have to make an appointment first. I think they're going to check your temperature, because it is it's a community center, but it is also a FQHC, a fully qualified health center. So they need to make sure when people are coming through the COVID, everything's about COVID now, that they don't have COVID. But yeah, I think there's 40 images?
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of images.
There's a lot of images. And this is our second show there. The first one was the Black Experience. And now this one, which is just us, the other one was like 10 artists and photographers. And now this one is just 2 photographers.
Okay.
And our next one will be called Queer.
Yeah, no, what's that going to be about?
Queer.
Can you say?
Showing up as yourself authentically. I think that's the tag, right?
Yeah, show up as authentically yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking for that too.
Whatever. Yeah. So we would love to photograph you for it.
Me? Oh, me? Oh my God, little old me. Oh my goodness. I'm like, I don't know if I'm photogenic. No, I'd be honored. I mean, if you guys want to photograph me, I would be very honored. I'd be very honored. I would be. Just tell me when, where, whatever. We'll figure it out. You guys are amazing. I mean, you guys are amazing. Amazing Black men.
Thank you.
Very proud to have you in my orbit. I'm proud to be in your orbits. Tell me where they can find you if you have social media stuff. Tell me where they can find you.
SC Visuals.
With a Z.
With a Z at the end.
Okay.
Instagram. SC Visuals on Facebook as well, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm Project Kenji Cat. KenGikat. And then Lewis Carr Photography. That's my Black page. My unapologetically Black.
Hey, that's right, kids. Stay Black. That's right.
And I started the page because sometimes you scroll through social media and Blackness has to stand with something else for it to be acceptable. Or sometimes it's just not there at all. So I was just like, I'm going to start a page that's all about Blackness and all about us. So that is my Black page. Project Kenji Cat is my activism and everything else. And then SC Visuals is what we do together. And then Sterling has 2 pages.
Yeah, so my modeling personal page is Sterling Scott _
I'm a model.
You see it?
I love it. I love it.
And then my photography page is Sterling _gold _.
Gold? I think like gold.
Yeah, like gold. Yeah, sterling gold. You know, I thought silver was too lame, so I was like, I'll call myself.
I just got it. I'm like, just got it. I'm a little slow. I just got it. I'm like sterling silver. Ha ha. Yeah, I got it.
People ask that. I'm like, they're like, what's your name? I'm like, Sterling Gold. They're like, your parents must be so knowledgeable. I'm like, okay, whatever.
That's hilarious.
Right. I was like, you got that from Sterling Gold? I was like, I'll just like.
So one page is thirst traps, and the other page is just checking. I'll be following everything. Don't worry. I'll be following it all. So I know what's going on Instagram. I know what IG happens.
Hey.
Young kids out there. I know what's going on out there.
We'll make sure you have. I'll email it. All the.
And we're gonna follow. I'm gonna start following you guys and stuff and everything too. But also show the book one more time. It's called "I Can't Breathe" by Lewis Carr and Sterling Scott. Great book. Again, tell them where they can find it.
It's on Blurb Books, BLURB.com.
Yeah.
Or you can the easy way is to just go to our website, scvisuals.com, and click on the shop.
And they'll all be in the description. All the stuff will be in the description, so you guys can find it. But I'll make sure you say it out loud. Everything. Thanks for being on the show, fellas.
Thank you for having us. And Sterling, I'm sure he's not going to have an issue with this. We're going to gift you a book.
Thank you. Oh my God, I would love it. I will show everywhere. I will promote it and everything, and I will do that for you guys. Yes, I would love to have an autographed copy of the book. I'd love to have.
We'll definitely make that happen. Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So you guys, this is Extra Connections with James Lott Jr. here on JLJ Media. I have over 30 shows on this network, ranging from Star Wars to soaps to activism. I do talk about stuff. Also insurance, health, all kind of health and wellness. We talk about everything on this show. No shows have anything on any kind of limits. We are a network of diversity in thoughts and in front of the camera and behind the scenes. We do that all the time. Also, this is on every streaming service you can think of, audio-wise, from Spotify to iHeartRadio to Apple to Google. We are everywhere under JLJ Media, under Extra Connections. We have a Facebook page, Extra Connections. And then where all James Lott Juniors are sold at James Lott Jr. on all the social media platforms, even TikTok, folks. Yes, I'm on TikTok. I'm some kind of weird star on there. I tell motivational stuff. I talk about being left-handed. I talk about being black, all on TikTok. That's all I do. I don't do any of the dances or nothing. I don't do any of that stuff. But you can follow me there, like, subscribe, follow. Share this actual episode with someone you think needs to hear this or see this. Go ahead and please share it. I have a lot of friends I know who do a lot of activism work. This should be out to everybody. Should see this and hear this. So share it with everybody as you please. Everyone, please, please, please go vote. Please, please, please.
Please go vote.
Please, please, please. I'm going to plead with you guys. Vote. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and have some compassion. We'll see you next time.